wireless remote LED lighting control from Litepanels. And we got Tim Duff. You're up.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
You're there too. You're there too.
Yep.
All right.
So, we're coming back. We're here to, connect with our customers, and, it's great to be able to, collaborate on all this and work together and, show how, at Vitech, we have all these great brands and products and all service, especially in this new world of remote production in various different ways. So, you come to Vitech and we have a lot of solutions for you, as you're starting to see. So from the lighting side, I'll start and kind of talk about our brand new product, the Apollo control system. So the ecosystem is really built around the backbone of the Apollo bridge. This is your wireless, DMX bridge, your all-in-one Swiss Army knife for lighting networking and control that offers some really sophisticated ways to network your lighting. So, look, there's a lot of challenges that we all face now in production. Lighting, obviously, being incredibly important because you can't see an image without light, right? But it's also one of the most cumbersome aspects of production, whether you're out in the field or you're in a studio. There's just a lot that goes into it. Two ways to control lights, right? There's your kind of manual control where you're going up to the back of the fixture and you make your changes accordingly, right? And then you have the more traditional, remote-esque way of controlling lights by running a whole lot of cable and a whole lot of power cable and running DMX to a lighting console. Now, that solution's great if you have the time, the money, and the expertise to be able to do it. But with the challenges that we're all facing nowadays, where you have smaller productions that need to have less crew and be more mobile and work a lot quicker, our Apollo system gives great ways to be able to do that. So the bridge, if you kind of look at it in its most simple form, there's kind of two networks working together. Our bridge is the only bridge that utilizes both 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So that's how you're going to be basically sending your commands from your control device. Now, we have our own wireless control app, which I'll touch on in a minute, called the Litepanels Apollo Control app. But you could also control this device from, an ETC Nomad on your laptop or other, lighting control software, or your typical, ETC lighting console, hardwired or wirelessly can all be controlled that way. So you connect to it that way, and that's how you control it. And then it utilizes Lumen Radio wireless DMX to wirelessly connect to our Gemini fixtures, our Astra fixtures, basically everything that's connected in the studio. But you could also hardwire as well. So you get a lot of, options in terms of how you route out your lights. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. So if you don't have a lot of lights that have wireless capabilities, you can still utilize DMX in order to connect them and control them. So additionally, to just your standard kind of software, iPad to bridge to lights, this can be part of a much larger network. And I'm actually going to grab my iPad. And I can kind of give you a little taste of what this thing can do. So as I may have mentioned, this is an enterprise grade router. So on top of, wirelessly routing the network, you also have the ability to connect via local area network or wide area network with Ethernet. So that's how you can grow to a larger network. So if you have multiple Apollo bridges within, your set, or multiple locations, if you will, within, a larger studio building, you deploy one of these at each stage, and then you're able to kind of have different portals to specific networks. So here on my bridge, I am connected to the web GUI. So like you would your home router, you just connect to your, you enter in the IP address of the device, and then you have full access of all of your network settings. So we have, our local area network configuration here. This is where I can set IP address. I can change my network configuration, utilize DHCP, DNS. And, we have a simple kind of base version of this as well. So as you can see, there's an easy way for people who don't necessarily, know, exactly how to get into the nitty gritty stuff, we make it pretty easy to do kind of your basics in terms of the overall control. So you can connect this, we've done things such as at the MLB All-Star game where, we had one of these bridges deployed on the field. It was wirelessly connected via Lumen radio to the Astros that were out on the field, and then hardwired to the fiber optic network. And out in the parking lot, like a mile away, we had the, base camp with all the trucks, and the LD had another Apollo bridge connected to the same network and was able to wirelessly take their iPad and control all the lights in real time on the field instead of the normal way of needing to relay it to someone who's standing there holding the light. So you're eliminating the need for a lot of people on set moving these lights around and having to make the adjustments. And, with LED lighting, these fixtures get a lot more complicated because you're using RGB, you're doing effects, you have a lot that you have to control. So doing it all on board can take time and be cumbersome, and doing it with a console can also take time. So I'll kind of use that to lead into the actual control app. So I'll show that interface. So, like I said, you can use other platforms and also other fixtures, but we feel that our Apollo Lighticians control app really gives you the best, simple, universal way to control your lights. So this is really geared towards customers where a lighting console just isn't feasible or, just not the way they want to light. So we designed it, so it works as if it is an app and less like mimicking the workflow of a console. So I'm going to actually just brighten the screen a little bit. You guys see it okay back there? So the way this application works is you'll have a bunch of scenes that you can build out. So as you can see, I've built a few for the studio. So I'm going to go into my demo right here by just tapping on it. And you get a very simple screen that gives you a list of all your lighting fixtures. This is everything in the grid, as well as this Gemini that I have here on the side. That is the setup screen. So going back to my fixtures, I get a bird's eye view of what everything's set at. If there's any color being used, it's previewing it at the bar. I can see what color temperature everything's at. I have names for each of my fixtures, so they're easy to access. So I'm going to actually just control this Gemini that I have right here on the stand. If I want to control one light, I would just tap the slider icon next to it, and here's your base control screen. So regardless of what type of fixture you're using, and again, this app has profiles for all the brands in addition to the Gemini and the Astra from Litepanels. So while you're going to get an amazing experience working with our lighting fixtures, we understand that there's a lot else out there and that we want to be able to, control and work with what you have. So we make it easy for, again, key collaboration. So, pretty straightforward screen. You have your intensity right here. Goes up and down. I can change my colors by going around the color wheel. Very fun. If I desaturate down to my white light, which is pretty much what most people are using, now I have the ability to get full CCT range, control, and even green magenta adjustment to match real world lighting settings. And with all these settings, if I want to get a very specific color temperature, I can just enter it in, and there you go. We also give you the ability to mimic as if you were gelling a light using all of these various Lee and Roscoe gels, tap on something like Perfect Lavender, but then I can go and adjust it to my own needs and then have the ability to save it as a new color and build a color palette, because any of my favorites that get saved come here. So it's very quick and easy to control various types of lights. Now, once I light my scene and I like it, there's a lot of things I can do here. Again, thinking of this idea of people working from various locations. Let's say I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of pre-light everything by myself. I've lit my scene as I have here. I tap it and I can take this, and now I have the ability to airdrop it, email it, text it, send it over Teams, whatever have you, to somebody else. They open that file, and then they're able to very quickly and easily just connect to the bridge. All the lights will go to how they should be set. I can also take a project like this, duplicate it, and this makes it very easy to get multiple types of scenes and types of lighting setups. I save this new one I've made, and it'll start kind of where I left off. And now, instead of having these, purple, white, let's say I want to have some fun, and for this other setup, I grabbed one of my Astros. There we go. And now I'm able to kind of change everything around me to various colors. And for this scene, okay, we're going to go with this look, this kind of nice light pink. And then again, quick and easy to go back and take my original scene, and there's my lighting. So, this is the type of thing that in a lot of our studios, they love it because, you have a client that comes in that's shooting a commercial and they don't have a lighting board op. You can just hand them the iPad, spend a few minutes with them, and they can do really powerful lighting control with that device. How am I doing on time, by the way? We good?
I think you're good. We've got a couple more minutes. I got questions for you too.
Okay, great. So just real quick, I'd be remiss to not talk about our wonderful lighting fixtures if I'm going to be up here representing Litepanels. So on top of having this control system, I want to really touch on, the Gemini line, which is really becoming a premier studio lighting line in the industry. We have excellent white light, especially in representing tungsten or daylight. If you look at our CRI, TLCI ratings, we're top notch, and not just by a good average where other fixtures may be missing that like warm red light that is within the white that represents, skin tones. We can represent tungsten really well and give beautiful skin tones off of your talent. But on top of all of that, you get, really excellent RGB control. So our Gemini Hard here has, it's very soft right now because we have this beautiful dome that we have on it, but it's still pretty bright. And actually, I'm just going to turn off the house lights for a quick second here. And as you can see, this thing, even with a dome, you're talking 3,000 lumens from 10 feet away. It can light a space beautifully, give you a nice wide throw, and it's very, very elegant and very even and soft. But I take this diffusion off and I get a different layer where it's a little harder and punchier. Still has a nice fall off. A lot of people compare this configuration to putting something like an opal gel right on a Fresnel light. So you go from a standard soft light to now having something that's like a gelled Fresnel. And then I pop this off and I have a 43-degree beam angle with one of the punchiest lights out there, giving me, this is where I get my 3,000 lumens at 10 feet. And this thing, you can see, has a pretty sharp fall off, great for bouncing off of another source or putting it through a frame to get that diffusion. So you really get kind of 3 lights in one with the brand new Gemini 1x1 Hard. And again, if we're working remotely, we're not tethered to anything with this. I'm running off of a Anton Bauer 240 watt hour battery. I've had this thing going most of the day. I have my wireless Lumen radio module so that I can control it from the bridge. And there you go. I'm ready to go. And I can just pick my stuff up and go absolutely anywhere. So that's my demo. Let's hear some questions.
We've got a few questions for you. I'll start it though with myself, which is, so where were you on this pre-COVID? Were you here anyway? And were you ready for this? Or did you accelerate development because the world went to wherever it went?
So actually, we were ready to launch this product kind of a few months after COVID actually started. So we were ahead of the curve. This is something that we've been working on for many years now. And the fact that we had the forethought to not only have a way to locally connect your lights wirelessly, but build a full enterprise grade router that could be networked across any space or across the world. We just saw a huge amount of interest right out of the get-go when this thing was launched. So, we were seeing this trend. There was a lot of resistance, in the industry, just like there were to LEDs in general until Litepanels came along. And when, people started realizing they couldn't have the crew on set and realize, okay, a console's not for us for price, time or technical reasons, this just instantly became a great solution. And when such a huge influx of corporations now building their own studios to create content, in-house because they can't go to trade shows or because they can't work with production companies because things shut down. This was just an easy solution because all you have to buy is some of our Geminis, hang them up in the studios, an Apollo bridge, and then, you're set up in a matter of minutes. I've even done some installations where I've done all the configuration work, send an email, and they get the Apollo, plug it in, turn it on, and all their lights are working. So it's really been, a great way to help the industry at a time when, it's been very difficult for a lot of people.
We got Michael Claxton came up with another security question in the world of Colonial Pipeline, and we're running out of gas. It's going to be top of mind. So Michael, Michael asked the question that we're all thinking, so how secure is this?
Yeah. So, again, everything's encoded. You can make this, you could set up firewalls, you can make your passwords as complicated as you want. So again, think about your most sophisticated wireless networking router and all the things you can do from a security standpoint. We can do all that. So, we rest assured that you'll be able to make this thing as bulletproof as possible to prevent people from being, able to access your network.
Okay. Evan Roberts had a question about LEDs aging and them changing colors, right? And I'll just read his question. As LEDs age, they sometimes change colors. Also, bounce background light can affect color. When sharing color palette profiles between locations, how can these differences be avoided?
Okay, so in terms of time where the LEDs degrade, we're one of the tops in the industry. We go well beyond what's kind of that accepted 50,000 hours of runtime before you're going to see any type of shift in your color or any type of degradation. So I'm fairly confident that your newborn babies will be in and past college before you have to worry about these LEDs starting to cause you problems. Now, in terms of bounce light and kind of practical light in the real world affecting the color of your fixtures, that's really where the Gemini is excellent, because it's not just a white light fixture that goes from tungsten to daylight. You have the ability, when you're in a space, to tweak the color to match what else is out there. So, we have that green magenta adjustment. We can change the color temperature beyond that 5,600 Kelvin that a lot of bicolor lights stop at. We can go up to 10,000. We can go down to 2,700. We can add more red to it. If you're using our Bluetooth app with the Astras, we actually have the ability to take a photo of light that's in your area and be able to get a read of what that color temperature is to match it that way. So even in our, less sophisticated, more kind of workhorse light like the Astra here, you still have ways to adjust to your general surroundings. And, if you're worried about light bouncing off the wall and things like that, we have a ton of modifiers. So I have one on this fixture, but we have honeycomb here. So that kind of reins it in. In my breakout room, I could actually show those. I have barn doors that you just slide into the rails of any of our fixtures, snap bags, grids that go on the snap bags. So we have all sources of ways to help you kind of control the light better so that you're not going to have spill in your studio or on location.
And Manila, are you still there? Manila,
yeah, I'm here.
I'm going to
put
Tim, what do you got?
Regarding
questions for Tim?
I do. Yeah. Regarding radio frequency interference, how do we handle that? With being on set, there's a lot of, wireless RF, Wi-Fi all going on. How do we handle, or how does the Apollo handle that potential interference?
So there's a few ways. That's where the dual band Wi-Fi becomes incredibly important. So because we're using 5 gigahertz and 2.4 actually working continuously together out of the box, we have a very unique frequency hopping algorithm that we've developed that allows your device that's sending the signal kind of to find the path of least resistance, if you will, to the device to then be able to transport it out to that device via the Lumen radio. So that in and of itself gives us a clear advantage. Now, if that isn't enough, because yes, any situation you go is unique and there's different weird architecture and other networks that can really crush wireless. With what we have in our web GUI, you can get really precise in, deciding what channel within a bandwidth you're broadcasting on. You can turn off 5G and turn on 2.4 and vice versa. So there's a lot of customization you can do in the wireless broadcasting that allows you to kind of find that right, that best use case for your particular location and area that you're in. And, just to speak, we've tested on tons of film shoots. We've been to trade shows. I mean, we have Teradek that, uses a lot of bandwidth, and we're right next to them all the time, whether it's on set or at a trade show in Vegas, where you have the worst RF possible. And I've seen at other booths where some wireless tech can kind of get fritzy, not from Vitek, of course, but I'll take this iPad to the other end of the hall and kind of look at my booth, and I'll see those lights changing colors instantly. So I feel very confident in our wireless performance, and there's, a number of ways that you can really maximize, the strength of that signal.
Right.
Awesome. I got one other question, Marty, if that's good.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So VPN support, being able to drive fixtures from across the country, are we using remote access apps? Are we using VPN? How is that being managed?
Yeah. So currently, we've had some very successful use cases of people routing it through their VPN. That's kind of been the most common way that people have done remote. We had some success at some award shows where, you're inside these actors' houses who have to accept awards, and you have some lights in there, but no one's allowed in there, and they're controlling it, from a city on the other side of the country. So, we've had great success with that. And because they're already streaming, video and audio through that VPN, we just, route right into that device, and you're able to, easily kind of hop onto those existing networks. Now, we're currently working on our own system so that you don't need any additional hardware and can just plug right into the internet and have two Apollos and, kind of connect through a web cloud service on the internet, connect two devices, and then be able to very simply do it just like we do with the app and the setup. We're going to really trivialize that process, but that's something that'll be coming out later this year.